Afterwards, Razor reminded the king she'd be taking her promised days off. Meanwhile, at the border city, after Noah and his party eliminated a dragon zombie, they traded its materials for cash at the guild. Noah received the largest share, 10 million gold coins, much to his surprise. However, Loga, who earned 1.5 million, explained that Noah deserved it for defeating the dragon solo, while Nino pocketed 2.5 million. As they exited the guild after the day's mission, Loga whispered to Noah not to be late for their rendezvous the next day, hinting he would be taking Noah to a nice place. Puzzled, Noah asked if they weren't heading to the blacksmith anymore, prompting Loga to shut him up, warning of Nino overhearing their conversation. Thus, the following day in the city, Noah met Loga, who awaited him eagerly. As they prepared to depart for the secret spot, Nino suddenly appeared among them, insisting she tag along. Annoyed, Loga demanded to know why she was there, to which Nino snapped irritably, questioning if he planned to drag Noah to a brothel full of thirsty chicks. Frustrated, Loga retorted that as adventurers, they were allowed to blow their hard-earned money, pounding on some sweet cakes if they wanted to. But Noah interjected immediately, nervously admitting he wasn't ready to be a man of culture just yet. Noah explained that he had 5 scary sisters back home that he was scared of. In response, Loga remarked that his sisters couldn't be that intimidating to make him quake. But seeing Noah's resolve to remain a timid virgin, Logwa agreed and suggested they visit the blacksmith instead. Eventually, they arrived at a mansion, which Noah, awestruck, assumed was the blacksmith's place, only for Loga to burst his bubble by pointing out the tiny shop next door. As they entered, a gruff dwarf named Barg greeted them. Promptly, Loga introduced Noah and Nino as his work buddies, and Barg demanded to know who needed his services. Loga nudged Noah forward and informed Barg that Noah was a pretty skillful swordsman. Skeptically, Barg remarked that Noah looked like a frightened weakling, but Loga countered that Noah had single-handedly slain a zombie dragon. Stunned, Barg picked Noah up like a ragdoll, shouting to confirm it, to which Noah timidly affirmed it was true. Then, Barg sniffed Noah like a dog and, with a crooked grin, declared he believed it, claiming he could smell Noah's disgusting, overpowered strength. With a fierce glare, Barg surprisingly ordered Noah to strip, but Noah, alarmed, exclaimed he wouldn't. In the next scene, Noah exited the blacksmith shop, looking like a man who had just made some terrible life choices. When Loga began teasing him, dubbing him Mr. Macho, Noah, thoroughly flustered, pleaded with him to stop. Apparently, just minutes earlier, inside the blacksmith shop, Noah had stripped down to his cheap boxers, and Barg, the muscle fetish dwarf, had enjoyed touching every part of his body like a degenerate. Back in the present, Loga, genuinely impressed, asked Noah how he'd gotten so shredded. This prompted Noah to recall how his sister Femme had trained him by repeatedly beating him into the dirt, healing him just enough to do it all over again. This training had sculpted his V-taper and toned his abs. Meanwhile, Nino burst into mocking laughter after having had a glimpse at Noah's tiny PP back in the shop, but Loga cut in, declaring it was enough humiliation for one day and suggested they return to the guild. As they headed toward the guild, Nino reminded the guys of the request Barg had posted to the guild. Evidently, Barg had sent Noah on an assignment to acquire some Roctotoy shell. Then and only then would he acknowledge Noah as the new master of the sword he had given to him. Noah grew anxious about tackling the mission solo, but Loga reassured him that adventurers support each other. Later that day, Lumilia, smiling, handed the team a document confirming they were officially a party. With a tired look, Lumilia told Noah she had finally finished dealing with their last mission and could finally rest. Curious, Noah asked if she meant the dragon zombie incident in the sewer, to which Lumilia nodded, adding that the guild was deploying top rankers to investigate further. Suddenly, Kruda emerged from nowhere, informing Noah she was among those rankers heading to the sewer. However, upon spotting Kruda, Nino turned into an overly excited child and started fangirling over her like some obsessed celebrity crush until Loga had to drag her away. With Nino out of the way, Kruda leaned in and whispered to Noah that she had always been destined to cross paths with the undead. When Noah, intrigued, demanded to know what she meant by that, Kruda revealed it was related to her past. Kruda disclosed that demons had raised her homeland as a child, driving her to become an adventurer for revenge. Additionally, she admitted her persistent pleas to form a party with Noah were partly to use him as bait for that vengeance. Surprisingly, though, she noted that Noah had just provided her with a lead. As Kruda turned to leave, Noah called her back and then handed her a protection charm to protect her from demons, catching her off guard. Yet, before she could take it, Nino rushed forward, snatched the charm, cast a mysterious spell on it, and returned it to Kruda, leaving Loga suspicious. Nevertheless, Kruda accepted it from Nino, confident she meant no harm. Before departing, Kruda glanced back and asked Noah if she could take him on a date once the matter was settled, to which Noah agreed, saying he looked forward to it. Following this, the team journeyed to the Great Wetlands for Barg's Roctotoys slaying mission. There, they encountered monstrous Roctotoyses the size of houses, leaving them in utter shock. Immediately, Loga briefed the team that physical attacks were useless against the tortoise, while Nino chimed in, adding that the monster tortoise was also resistant to magic. When Noah then asked how to defeat them, Loga explained that targeting a weak spot on their necks was the only way. With that, Noah gripped his new blade, eager to try out his new weapon. At that moment, he recalled Barg mentioning the sword was crafted from heating rock, and the sword boasted of had 3 unique abilities. As Noah struck the tortoise, he kept in mind that, according to Barg, the first ability was its sturdiness. Then, as he sliced through, he remembered the second, its sharpness. With the monstrous tortoise slashed down, Noah felt fully satisfied with his sword's qualities. Moreover, Noah recalled the sword's special ability, which explained why it cost a staggering 10 million gold coins, even discounted. While Noah celebrated his win over the giant tortoise, Loga, standing beside Nino, quickly cautioned him not to celebrate prematurely. Before Loga could warn that rock tortoises never roam alone, a horde of giant tortoises surrounded the team. Instantly, Nino blamed Noah for showing off, which alerted the other tortoise to his strength. Loga laughed over Nino's comment, but then pointed out that, with no escape, they'd have to face them all. Noah quickly proposed a strategy. He and Nino would distract the tortoises while Loga went for the weak spots. However, before they could execute the plan, a tortoise abomination suddenly materialized out of nowhere. Noah immediately unleashed a flying flash against the Magnetoise, but this only enraged the beast. In retaliation, the monster expelled a fiery breath, which Loga deflected by shielding both himself and Noah with his massive shield. At that moment, Noah observed that long-range attacks were ineffective, which Loga confirmed they were. Thinking on his feet, Noah then proposed a close-range assault, but Loga objected, warning that the Magnetoise's heat would turn them into a well-done steak if they got too near. Just then, Nino interjected, informing the team that the creature lacked magic resistance and could be obliterated using magic spells. However, Nino highlighted a problem, stating that since none of them were wizards, their only strategy now was to say their last prayers. Suddenly, Noah recalled that the grumpy, muscle-obsessed dwarf, Barg, had mentioned that the final ability of the blade he wielded was mana absorption. Barg had also explained that the sword could slice through spells and absorb their mana. When Noah asked if it could cast magic, Barg affirmed with an enthusiastic yes. Armed with this knowledge, Noah declared to the team that he had a plan. Noah revealed that he'd imbue his sword with magic and activate a flying flash. When the team questioned if it was possible, Noah assured them it was, though he cautioned he'd need time to channel the mana. Loga immediately volunteered to clean up the smaller tortoises, while Nino decided to distract the Magnetoise with her bouncy buns. Smirking, however, Nino warned Noah that if his plan failed after using B-rank adventurers as bait, she'd personally rip off his carrot. With no time to waste, Nino and Loga sprang into action, executing their roles, while Noah focused on gathering mana from within and transferring it to his sword. The mana he summoned bore an ice attribute, and after channeling it through his hand, he infused it into the blade. As the sword absorbed enough ice mana, the ground beneath Noah's feet froze instantly. Meanwhile, Nino kept the Magnetoise occupied, and just as it stumbled into a pit and struggled to rise, she yelled for Noah to take the shot. Immediately, Noah unleashed an ice slash, and with one swift flash, he turned the monster into nothing but meat chunks. With the beast vanquished, the team sighed in relief, and Nino, for the first time, praised Noah for making a magic sword and even calling him awesome, much to Noah's surprise. Loga, on the other hand, pointed out that they actually made a solid team and suggested they head back to the guild to collect their hard-earned reward. On their way back, Nino asked Noah if he'd considered the advancement test to boost his rank. In reply, Noah explained he wasn't eligible until he completed one more request. Furthermore, Noah recalled that when he joined the guild, Lumilia had told him 5D rank missions were required before he could ascend. Just then, they noticed a crowd at the entrance of the guild, making them wonder what was going on. In the middle of the commotion stood Sister Rhea, trembling as she announced that there was a huge problem at the church graveyard. Sister Rhea elaborated that a horde of undead was currently roaming the premises. Additionally, Rhea reported that some kind of massive rumbling was coming from beneath the church, likely from the sewer, and pleaded for the guild's help to evacuate those inside the church. Noah suggested they report the issue to the guild first, but at that instant, a massive explosion rocked the church grounds, sending the whole city into a full-blown panic. Sensing trouble, Noah urged Sister Rhea to take shelter inside the guild, and then told the team they needed to reach the church immediately. Minutes later, the team arrived and froze in shock at a gaping hole in the church's center caused by the blast. Suddenly, a swarm of undead crawled out from within, and before the team could react, a blinding light pierced the sky. In the midst of the light emerged the evil mage, clutching an unconscious Kruta entwined with snakes. Before long, the guild members convened an emergency meeting regarding Kruta's abduction. Noah attempted to explain that they'd tried to stop the mysterious villain who kidnapped Kruta, but he escaped. Avolt, the guild master, acknowledged their effort, yet Avolt pointed out that it was a demon who had abducted Kruta. Avolt elaborated that monsters were different from demons because demons were more intelligent, wicked, and possessed tremendous powers. A rank adventurer named Shrine inquired why the demon had targeted Kruta. In response, Avolt disclosed that Kruta was the main objective all along. Avolt asked if they'd discovered necromancy tools in the church, prompting Nino to question if the demon intended to use Kruta for a necromancy experiment, though Avolt admitted he wasn't sure. Frustrated, Nino shouted that they should rescue Kruta immediately rather than waste time gossiping. However, Avolt cautioned against it, noting that the demon's necromancy could turn a group assault deadly, potentially transforming casualties into undead. Avolt emphasized that only an S-rank adventurer could defeat such a demon. Instantly, Nino demanded they summon this adventurer, but Avalt explained they'd sent a request, only to learn she was busy dealing with her own personal issues and could not help at the moment. That's when Noah suddenly got interested in who this mystery warrior was, and when he got to know the adventurer was none other than his sister Reza, he nearly choked on his spit. Determined to act, Nino shot up from her seat, ready to head out alone, but Loga yanked her back, warning that it was a death wish, while Avalt added she didn't even know the location. Glancing at a map, Nino revealed she knew precisely where Kruda was, thanks to a tracker she'd embedded in the protective charm Noah had given her earlier, pinpointing Kruda at the Wicked Spirit Forest. Nearly in tears, Nino declared that losing Kruda would make her entire adventure life meaningless. Seeing how important Kulta was to Nino, Noah was touched, and then declared he'd join her, claiming he was only doing it because Kruda still owed him dinner. Loga sighed and then signed up, too. Before leaving, Noah tossed Avalt a small dagger, stating that if he showed it to Reza, she'd drop whatever she was doing and come in 2 seconds, just like you in bed. Avalt, momentarily stunned by the crest on the dagger, decided not to ask further questions and instead gave them the green light to embark on their rescue mission. Soon after, the team finally got to the evil forest, but after walking for hours, they realized they had been circling the forest like it was a maze. Nino, still tracking Kruda, pointed out that they should have reached the mansion at the center like yesterday. At this, Logwa theorized they might have been trapped in the forest, leading Nino to activate Veli Break Eye, a ninja technique to pierce illusions and traps, though she reported not seeing any trap or illusion. That's when Noah's gaze landed on a tree with the face of a human, and immediately alerted the team. The tree monster, exposed, unleashed vines that ensnared Nino. At that instant, Noah announced the tree monsters were why they couldn't advance, and then explained that the tree monsters were changing the forest path and were misleading them. Fed up with being caught, however, Nino slashed through the vines in a fury, freeing herself. Loga then suggested they bulldoze through the trees instead of wasting time fighting them individually. Noah agreed, and with brute force, they barreled through the tree monsters and emerged onto a walkway to the mansion. Yet, just as they thought they'd escaped, demon dogs ambushed them, prompting Noah to remark that the number of monsters they were facing only proved they were on the right track. Suddenly, giant footsteps approached, revealing 2 massive ogres wielding weapons. The team froze, rattled by the freakish sight, but Loga urged Noah to leave the monsters to them and head into the mansion. Noah hesitated, feeling bad about leaving them behind, but Nino insisted he go, pointing out that taking down the necromancer would put an end to the monster attacks altogether. With that, Noah agreed, carving a path with his massive sword and dashing into the mansion. Upon entering, a croaky voice echoed through the dimly lit hall, congratulating him for making it this far. Moments later, the demon materialized before him, so Noah fearlessly demanded to know where Kulta was. The demon told him to chill, assuring he'd see her soon. Suddenly, Noah's eyes widened in horror as he spotted Kruda, looking strange and covered in snakes from head to toe. Furious, Noah demanded an explanation, to which the demon revealed he'd turned Kruda into a necromancy experiment. The demon added that he'd forced numerous souls to possess Kruda's living body. When Noah, enraged, pressed for clarity, the demon explained he'd used Kruda's intense emotions as a catalyst to make her a living undead. Furthermore, the demon boasted that Kruda's hatred for him for slaughtering her family made her an ideal vessel. Having heard enough, Noah lunged to attack, but his attack was blocked by a possessed Kruda who countered the attack at inhumane speed by unleashing a flurry of slashes, which Noah narrowly dodged. Thinking fast, Noah cast a blanch spell to purify Kruda, but the demon only laughed, mocking him for thinking such a weak spell could cleanse the undead raging inside Kruda. Feeling smug, the demon taunted that only a light magic spell could save Kruda. At that, Noah recalled his sister Fem teaching him that the ultimate light magic spell involved temporarily hosting a light spirit to purify everything. Back in the past, the demon Valjima had long harbored a dream of creating the ultimate undead. Thus, heedless of the cost, he experimented relentlessly with countless innocent humans until he devised a method to realize his vision. This method involved forcing spirits to possess a living human, using a spell to fuse the undead with the living. However, a significant problem emerged. The problem was that ordinary humans reacted violently to dead spirits, resulting in their demise. Yet, over the years, Valjima devised a horrific solution. His approach entailed selecting a village, attacking it, and massacring its inhabitants. The slain would become spirits of the dead, while one survivor, fueled by hatred and a thirst for vengeance, would remain. This fate befell Kruta, who later became an avenger and a vessel capable of withstanding dead spirits, enabling her transformation into the ultimate undead. Nevertheless, Valjima's flawless scheme was about to go up in flames, for in the present, Noah, kneeling, unleashed the ultimate light spell. Amid a blinding glow, Kruta was cleansed of all undead spirits within her and was restored to normal. Witnessing Noah dismantle his years of work, Valjima erupted in fury and, in a sudden surge of rage, morphed into a venomous, multi-headed abomination. Without hesitation, Valjima lunged at Noah, but our boy flipped into the air, deftly evading the assault. As he dodged, Noah had a horrifying realization that Valjima's attacks were just as relentless as his sister Reza's training. Still wielding his sword, he resolved not to be outmatched in strength. Valjima, desperate to end Noah, kept coming at him head after head, each strike aiming to rip Noah to shreds. But Noah stayed light on his feet, deflecting blows and dodging with expert timing. When the moment was right, Noah activated a flying slash, slicing through one of Valjima's hideous heads. Astonished that Noah could wound him, Valjima proclaimed Noah a worthy vessel, too, vowing not to send him to hell, but to capture him alive for his next science project. This time, as Valjima charged with full force, he threatened to capture Noah's guild teammates as well and promised to snuff out their lives slowly. But in that instant, Noah infused his sword with the Blanche spell, fully intending to send Valjima straight to the Shadow Realm. Noah knew the demon could regenerate, but not if he took out the head. Meanwhile, as Noah clashed with Valjima, Kruta gradually regained consciousness. Determined to target Valjima's head, Noah surged forward at full speed, thrusting his blade, but Valjima tilted his head, causing Noah to miss. Yet, in that fleeting moment, a sword from nowhere slammed into his eye. It turned out Kruta had hurled it, and seizing the chance, Noah drove his magic blade through Valjima's skull, splitting it in half before landing dramatically on the ground. With Valjima defeated, Kruta rushed to Noah and demanded to know what was happening, prompting Noah to ask if she remembered anything. In reply, Kruta explained that after Valjima kidnapped her, her brain did a factory reset. Realizing Noah had defeated Valjima, Kruta surprisingly embraced him and joyfully thanked him for avenging her family. At that moment, Nino and Loga burst into the mansion, looking like they'd just wrestled a titan. Nino immediately flung herself at Kruta, overjoyed she was alive, while Loga, still catching his breath, reported that all the undead and ogres outside had abruptly ceased moving. Following that, Nino expressed gratitude to Noah for joining her to save her idol, and simultaneously, Loga thanked Noah for being the best bro, and then pulled him into a bear hug so tight it could have cracked a rib. After the emotional roller coaster, Loga suggested they bag up the demon's remains and return to the guild. But as Noah reached for Valjima's body, he was stunned to discover the dude's head was gone. Suddenly, Valjima's half-head reappeared amid blazing flames, wickedly commending Noah for being the Gigachad to defeat him. Yet, Valjima ominously vowed that, with only a few minutes left to live, he'd drag as many humans down with him. Without delay, Valjima chanted a demonic incantation and summoned the demon dragon Hydra from the pit of hell. Instantly, the mansion began to crumble, forcing Noah and the team to scramble for safety. The structure soon exploded, but fortunately, Noah and his companions escaped alive. With the demon dragon Hydra looming in the sky, Kruta warned the team that, given Valjima's threat, the demon would target the border city, leaving them little or no time to alert anyone. Noah, on the other hand, regretted not finishing Valjima when he had the chance. Gripped by remorse, he clutched his sword tightly and urged the team to flee. To clarify, Noah directed them to race back to the border city and evacuate as many people as possible while he stalled the beast. When the team protested, refusing to abandon him, Noah shouted, asking if they'd rather all perish together. With a fierce glare, Noah stressed that he'd never let his team die alongside the city's innocents and implored the team to go. Seeing Noah's resolve, Kruta obeyed and began to withdraw, while Loga immediately carried a stubborn Nino onto his shoulder as she resisted leaving. With the team departed, Noah calculated that, despite his efforts, he wouldn't last 3 minutes against the Hydra, but it was enough time for the team to escape. Bruised and battered, Noah gripped his sword firmly and, at that instant, recalled Reza's words, as long as his spirit endured, he'd rise again and find strength to fight on. With those words carved in his heart, Noah roared with resolve, challenging the monster to come at him, vowing to take it down. His defiance enraged the Hydra, but just as the demon lunged at him, a voice boomed, praising Noah's tenacity. Still clutching his sword, Noah froze, recognizing the familiar voice. Suddenly, with a burst of energy, Reza appeared, soaring through the sky like Quicksilver, sword in hand, toward the Hydra. Without pause, Reza unleashed a flying slash, followed by a quadruple flash, and in one fluid strike, severed all the Hydra's heads, leaving Noah utterly shocked. At that instant, the Hydra erupted like an atomic blast, while Reza landed on the ground, visibly annoyed that the Hydra hadn't put up much of a fight. As the dust cleared, Reza approached Noah, insisting they head home, but Noah, unwilling, turned around and bolted away. Swiftly, Reza caught him just in time, scooping him up like an arrogant brat, and on their way back, they encountered Nino, Loga, and Kruta, who were shocked at seeing Noah being carried like an invalid. Moments later, Kruta apologized to Noah on the team's behalf for leaving him to face death alone, and then hugged him in Reza's presence, vowing to grow stronger so he wouldn't have to risk himself again. However, witnessing her little brother embraced by another woman, Reza fumed, nearly drawing her sword, but Noah quickly asked her to chill, explaining that Kruta was just a friend. Shortly afterwards, Noah finally confessed to the team that Reza was his older sister, stunning them. Loga remarked that it explained Noah's extraordinary strength, while Nino mentioned that the whole guild would lose their minds if they found out. But Reza instructed her to keep her leaking faucet of a mouth shut, explaining she didn't want the public aware of their sibling bond, and then declared she'd take Noah home immediately. The team were shocked at hearing this, but Reza thanked them for looking after her brother. When Kruta pointed out that Noah looked anything but thrilled at returning home, Reza tried everything to lift his spirits. She assured him she'd improved after some self-reflection and promised to train him into a better swordsman using notes rather than brutal practice. Furthermore, Reza pleaded with Noah to come home, vowing this time, her guidance would be gentler. Still, Noah refused, firmly stating he'd rather stay in the border city. Disheartened and frustrated, Reza asked if his rejection stemmed from despising her methods, but Noah shook his head. Noah acknowledged that her training made him an adventurer, yet he didn't want to keep depending on her. Moreover, Noah pointed out that Reza's overwhelming power meant going back would revert him to letting her handle everything for him. Ultimately,